we need.
Let's cross over and engage my colleague Obed King-Aglo, who is currently in the Ablekuma North constituency. Obed, shocking decision from Afriyie. Have you engaged residents? What have they been telling you?
Right, so Nadima, just as you heard from the MPP parliamentary candidates, when we touched down this morning in the constituency, we saw some MPP party executives going house to house campaigning for Afriyie, confirming her stance that indeed she will be contesting tomorrow's elections. We were quite surprised because last 2 days we were in the same constituency where the national executive, led by the general secretary of the party, Justin Frimpong, declared that the MPP is not going to be part of tomorrow's election because they believe that the Electoral Commission has acted in bad faith because, again, they had headed to the courts to place an injunction. But we all know that that injunction was dismissed. And so we were again quite surprised when we saw MPP branch executives moving from house to house to campaign. In fact, we engaged some of them, and they told us that contrary to the position of the national executives, they are campaigning for Madame Afriyie ahead of tomorrow's elections. So I can confidently tell you that Madame Afriyie will be contesting tomorrow's election. In fact, we also have credible information that later in the afternoon, she will be addressing the media on this decision. And so I can confirm to you that indeed that's true, that Afriyie is contesting tomorrow's elections.
About the campaign activities for the NDC.
Right, the NDC is also campaigning. I spoke to some of their members in the constituency, and lucky enough, I have some of their sympathizers here who have been canvassing votes for Madame Irabna Obeng ahead of tomorrow's election. So let me engage her briefly on what she thinks about tomorrow's election and why she thinks that Madame Irabna Obeng should be given the nod. Akua GHOne.
A little bit, I say, it's so cabin, but yeah, Bonyamin Pie said, when you're in, voting, Emma Irabna, because I had to know that I was up with one about income tax in Tanya man, it's too much for us to pay. So that's why I compare my Irabna so umbra. Now already still tax my shop, a Juma, to be this, and I my shop rents. In tax and internal revenue, we number from the crime. I don't say I campaign Irabna so umbra. No, yet being found mine.
Okay, Matisse Ochinano, a 19 polling stations, a polling station, a Methodist church. I watch you, mammy. I wore a your dog was it. Who bet to a bunny the Ochina?
Why not? May it's one Irabna, nor reduce to taxes, any internal revenue of my until I may rabbit from my Irabna.
Now, Yanshe, yet to abano 6 months to 7 months, the Muni members of member of parliament. In Susan so Ben Eja Bremo. How Ben Eja Bremo?
You have a brain because you say some of the MPs somewhat say national make about AMA for no matter say you have a discount. Meanwhile, no see any MP and I anywhere I'll bet not to say, and this is upon ever bet now office for no matter to some more geomedia. And this is possible, but no have a gene. So, what the force if we are not more just away from the per se, the dynamic said, be say, but name Papa, a year rabno or bad, not the entity for Munson baby,
right. It has to be brave. So, Nadima, that's a sympathizer of the NDC here in Chimami Methodist Church, which is one of the polling stations for tomorrow's election. Canvassing support for Irabna Obeng ahead of tomorrow's elections. But as I mentioned earlier, we spoke to some sympathizers of the MPP who were also moving from house to house campaigning for Madame Afriyie. And so, tomorrow's election, we wait to see who will win.
Obed, before we listen to the people you spoke, the constituents you spoke to earlier, I wanted you to find out from her what she makes of the decision by Madame Afriyie to rerun, go ahead with the elections. Does she think that this would have an effect on her candidate's outcome?
Nadima, I can tell you that even at that press conference, some party members were opposed to the decision of the national executives declaring that the MPP will not be part of the election. And so from day one, the MPP, in a very submarine way, were campaigning. And so for them, it is not a U-turn. They started the campaign since day one that the Electoral Commission decided to rerun the election. It was the National Executive who thought that that was not a good decision. And so they have been campaigning and didn't see this as a surprise at all. So Nadima, that has been the position of the grassroots of the MPP here in the Ablekuma North constituency.
But finally, Obe, before I let you go, what are we anticipating high voter turnout ahead of tomorrow's election?
Exactly so. You know, this election is limited to some 19 polling stations. And so it's expected that all those in these polling stations will come and vote. I was a bit surprised to see them even calling me to interview them, because usually on this day, there's no campaign activity. One day to elections, there are no campaign activities. But you see them moving from house to house, as I mentioned, with their documents indicating the number, the documents that have those on the register, I must say, taking them, calling them. And so I expect that tomorrow's election will be fiercely contested and the turnout will be very high.
Grateful for your time. That there is my colleague Gov't who is currently in the Ablekuma North constituency. But let's take a listen to some of the constituents who spoke to us earlier.
Ablekuma North had remained a bona fide property of the New Patriotic Party since 1996. And any time we go for elections, they win between 18,000 to about 25,000 difference. This time round, this powerful lady, the Yasantua of Ablekuma North, had come, and today we are fighting over 400 votes. Where is the 24,000 and so where has it gone to? So it means there is something wrong somewhere, and she's dealing directly with it. She don't rest on a horse, pulling strings for the youth, for them to get some place to be. But how much can she do if she is not representing us?
And to what we won't be a baby, I would true a baby, a mestre, as though be a the Panoa Patunaba, come. Maybe be and so be proud and talk about, and when ya Ghana Babo, Omon Traban about one in the Omon Piemra, and Metrabanama on Nabu a queer free, Nan Kunimidiana ya Diano, Yan Gia, Diana Bibia, come.
Away from tomorrow's elections, Health Minister Kobna Kando has charged the Health Facilities Regulatory Agency, that is HEFRA, to take immediate action against health facilities that fail to meet regulatory standards. He emphasized that health centers are meant to provide care and healing and not expose patients to further risk due to unsanitary conditions. The minister made the remarks during the swearing-in ceremony of the governing boards of the National Vaccine Institute, the Health Facilities Regulatory Agency, the Nurses and Midwifery Council, the Center for Plant Medicine Research, and the Mortuaries and Funeral Facilities Agency.
Set the standards, enforce it, and make sure every Ghanaian everywhere receives care they can trust when they visit our facilities. We have thousands of facilities in the country. So it is the responsibility of HEFRA to make sure that Ghanaians attend these facilities with the highest protection they deserve. Health facilities are just not the brick and mortar. We cannot go and take diseases from health facilities. We go to health facilities to prevent diseases or to cure diseases, not to take diseases from health facilities. And therefore, HEFRA, it is your responsibility. Recently, I had the opportunity to tour some of these health facilities, and it was terrible. Washrooms, wards, you see needles after using them on the floor of the wards. You have the mandate to close any facility that is not living up to expectation. And this time, we are not asking you to go and manage. We are asking you to go and transform. the resetting agenda must be on. And so, Hefra, you have a clear mandate and matching orders that our health facilities should be neat and safe. Now, today.
While still on health, the Mortuaries and Funeral Facilities Agency is set to start arresting persons who engage in indiscriminate display of dead bodies during the performance of final funeral rites. Newly sworn-in board chair of the agency, Dr. Ernest Boakye, warned pallbearers on the handling of dead bodies, as well as persons who eat with those laid in state, to immediately desist from it. His comment was in response to the Health Minister, Kobna Kando's call for the agency to act swiftly.
Set the standards, enforce it, and make sure every Ghanaian everywhere receives care they can trust when they visit our facilities. We have thousands of facilities in the country. So it is the responsibility of HEFRA to make sure that Ghanaians attend these facilities with the highest protection they deserve. Health facilities are just not the brick and mortar. We cannot go and take diseases from health facilities. We go to health facilities to prevent diseases or to cure diseases, not to take diseases from health facilities. And therefore, HEFRA, it is your responsibility. Recently, I had the opportunity to tour some of these health facilities, and it was terrible. Washrooms, wards, you see needles after using them on the floor of the wards. You have the mandate to close any facility that is not living up to expectation. And this time, we are not asking you to go and manage. We are asking you to go and transform. The resetting agenda must be on. And so, HEFRA, you have a clear mandate and matching orders that our health facilities should be neat and safe. Now, today,
as an agency, we work together with the police. If we need to arrest people, we will arrest them. We also have to go out, sensitize people, talk to them about the dangers of.
Renowned legal practitioner Professor Akua has commended Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo's Akua's lawsuits as a step in the right direction. Justice Torkornoo filed a lawsuit against Ghana at the ECOWAS Court of Justice, seeking $10 million in compensation for reputational damages suffered due to her alleged illegal suspension. The Chief Justice claims that her suspension by the President on April 22, 2025 violated her human rights to fair hearing, dignity, and satisfactory conditions of work. Professor Akua added that at the supranational level, political will at the domestic level often determines how such rulings play out.
And I think that there is a possibility that the courts, she can find justice at the court in terms of the human rights issues, because she has complained about human rights issues. I don't know to what extent they can be concretely recognized as rights violations. But when rights violations take place, they trump over any judicial processes or mechanisms that a country may have. We've already criticized the fact that the process for the removal of the Chief Justice is unfair, it violates certain rules and even the judicial independence and so on. But when there's a human rights issue, the human rights issue trumps over any other issue, and it should be given prominence so that that person's right to fair trial, due process, and so on is respected. So on that basis, there's a possibility that she can get a good judgment from the ECOWAS Court of Justice. I'm just saying that there may be, and it's dependent on if she has solid grounds on human rights grounds that she's not being treated fairly. Due process has been denied her. It's not a fair trial. the ECOWAS court can intervene.
Minister for Interior Mohammed Muntaka Mubarak has disclosed the main suspect in the gold and dollars bust at Sapeiman remains on the run 4 months after the national security operation. The minister has indicated that his outfit is collaborating with the United States Embassy to verify the authenticity of the seized US dollars. Answering questions from Parliament, Alhaji Mubarak disclosed the ministry is also working with the Bank of Ghana and Ghana Gold Board to confirm the legitimacy of intercepted gold bars and Ghanaian cedis. On February 9, 2025, national security operatives seized counterfeit
Ghanaian cedi notes and suspected gold bars hidden in a 20-feet containers at a warehouse in Sapeiman on the 9th of March 2025.
The national security is also collaborating with the United States Embassy to confirm the authenticity of the suspected counterfeit currencies. At the same time, there is a collaboration with the Bank of Ghana and the Ghana Gold Board to confirm the authenticity of the intercepted gold bar and Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, it is worth mentioning that the operation was initiated following days of monitoring and tracking the modus operandi of the suspects. However, on the day the swoop was taken, the prime suspect had escaped before the security personnel arrived at the scene. However, investigations is ongoing to identify the suspect and their agent and the extent of the operation. Thank you very much, Speaker.
I'm wondering, why would you want to collaborate with the U.S. Embassy to authenticate the dollars? Whilst we have counterfeit machines in all the banks, the Bank of Ghana also do have a counterfeit machine. Even Abochi, using his fingertips, can tell you that this is fake or this is genuine. Why would you want to waste time since March to hear from the U.S. Embassy before you continue?
You're still watching Newsroom live on GHOne TV with me, Nadima, Umar, Uthman. Stay with us. There's more news when we return from this break. You're welcome back. This is Newsroom, and I am Nadima, Umar, Uthman. In some more stories, environmental advocacy group Arocha Ghana is urging churches and faith-based organizations to take a more vocal and proactive stance on issues affecting the environment. And that's why World Vision Ghana, as part of efforts to combat the country's growing environmental challenges, has launched a strategic blueprint aimed at equipping faith institutions with the tools and knowledge to promote environmental stewardship.
Ghana has a total land area of about 23.8 million hectares, with 3.6 million hectares designated as forest reserves or wildlife protection areas managed by the Forestry Commission. Yet, deforestation and land degradation persist due to illegal mining, logging, and other human activities. At the launch of the Creation Care Conference and National Framework, Deputy National Director of Arocha Ghana, Daryl Bosu, called on faith institutions to take a stand and hold policymakers accountable.
I see this as a beginning of a partnership among churches having this guide, and I want to see also the church being louder than before and speaking to government on issues of policy, on law regarding the environment, and particularly on issues of plastic pollution, galamsey, forest loss, and all of that. Because if you don't do that, then there will be no souls to save. Because these people are struggling, they are thinking about the food they will eat. If you go there with the Bible, I'm not sure they even pay attention to you because they have to fend for themselves first.
Faith and Development Manager at World Vision Ghana, Reverend Benjamin Saba, said the newly launched framework empowers churches to take ownership of environmental stewardship and climate action, with a focus on safeguarding creation for future generations.
It's about the launch of the National Christian Care Framework. It's a book, or it's a framework that we've developed for churches to actually front issues of Christian care. That is to say that we want the churches to own the movement when it comes to environmental stewardship and climate action. In Ghana, we are seeing that there is environmental degradation coupled with the effects of climate change and it's impacting children. There is a need for the church to take active role in ensuring that creation is cared for, the environment is well kept so that the child will not fall sick.
The Creation Care Conference also sought to deepen the theological, missional, and practical understanding of environmental issues within the church, with special emphasis on how climate change affects vulnerable children and marginalized communities.
The police in Akua have foiled an attempted in-house robbery targeting company funds in the fight against organized crime. Another incident, a swift police response along the Kaswa-Winneba Road, led to the arrest and conviction of a highway robber who is now serving a 25-year prison term. Details in the following report.
The arrest occurred at North Kaneshi by the Special Support Units of the Ghana Police Service. The two suspects were identified as Joseph Danso, a.k.a. Nanayao, and Fawzan Al-Hassan for plotting to rob their employer. The two suspects were caught on July 1 trailing a dispatch rider transporting company funds to a bank in Abosi-Okai. Acting on intelligence, police moved in and arrested them before the crime could be carried out. During questioning, the suspects admitted the plan and named two accomplices, Frankie and Asante, who remain at large. Meanwhile, in the Central East region, the police have secured the conviction of 20-year-old Mohammed Bello for his role in the highway robbery near Damenyin along the Kaswa-Winneba Road. The robbery took place in the early hours of July 6 when Bello and four accomplices attacked drivers and passengers, stealing cash, mobile phones, and personal items. Police arrested Bello in the area as he tried to escape. Recovered items included over 3,700 cedis in cash, several smartphones, a wristwatch, and other belongings identified by victims. Bello pleaded guilty at the Ofakor Circuit Court and has been sentenced to 25 years imprisonment in hard labor. Police say investigations are ongoing to apprehend the remaining suspects in both cases, reaffirming their commitment to protect the public and dismantle criminal networks across the country.
The Minister for Roads and Highways, Kwame Agbodza, has detailed a number of projects to be captured in the government's Big Push agenda. According to the minister, although every region will benefit from the $10 billion massive infrastructure agenda expected to commence this month, there are some critical ones, including some ongoing projects that require urgent attention. Answering questions from GHOne TV during his recent media briefing, Mr. Agbodza outlined some of the projects.
The Big Push projects are now not only what the president promised during the electioneering campaign, but he has directed that for the sake of his own commitment to complete ongoing projects, we take over some of those projects. So the Ofankor, the Kaswa-Winneba are all now part of the Big Push, and then the tranche 2 of motorway towards Central University, which hasn't got any funding for it. We are taking on all of them as part of Big Push. Some of the projects just a cursory look, because these projects are supposed to be interconnecting our regions and then connecting back to the national capital. So these projects are not constituency-specific or region-specific projects. The Big Push is a bigger idea than just doing a road in a region. It's supposed to address a bigger issue. So, for instance, and this is not to say that these are the only projects in a particular region, because none of these projects stays in one region, they interconnect.
Let's now bring you some updates from the world of business. The government is taking bold steps to revive the country's struggling textile industry as part of its ambitious 24-hour economy policy. Deputy Minister of Finance Thomas Ampemnyako says that revival of Akosombo and GHOne Textiles Limited will create jobs, boost industrial output and improve livelihoods. GHOne reports from Akosombo.
Established in 1967 by Ghana's first president, Osajefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, Akosombo and GHOne Textiles Limited were once the pride of Ghana's manufacturing sector, producing high-quality real wax and African fancy prints. But in recent decades, the companies have struggled to stay afloat, leaving hundreds jobless and affecting economic activities. Addressing an event in Akosombo, the Deputy Minister of Finance, Thomas Nyakuampem, announced a major government intervention to revive the two textile companies under the 24-hour economy policy to create more jobs and boost the economy.
And if there is any constituency, any district, open 24-hour economy home Pasopa, and yes to Jamaica. Obampeli Mahama Niswadi who our textile industry. We are a person here for ATL, MEJTL. We are a person here use Akosombo textile, GHOne textile. It produces almost all the textiles are here in Ghana and the other West African countries.
The Deputy Minister further disclosed that the Sojaman constituency will benefit from the upcoming water project aimed at harnessing the vast water resource of the water lake to boost.
They use this huge resource, the water lake.
Construction of major roads within the constituency, which have deteriorated over the years, affecting transportation and trade.
By the time Afriyie and you see a lot of progress on our roads. Akosombo Jakiti Road and Numbosu Road, any part of the programs are starting in earnest this year.
For GHOne TV and Star FM, GHOne, Akosombo.
Government says it's poised to hit its annual target of 400,000 metric tons shea nuts from 2026. Leveraging its flagship 24-hour economy policy, government seeks to implement measures such as modern processing facilities, mechanized harvesting and cold storage, among others, to augment production volumes. This announcement was made by the Director of the Presidential Special Initiatives on Agriculture and Agribusiness, Dr. Peter Boamo Tukuno, the official press launch of the second World Shea Expo in Accra.
Currently, Ghana exports between 130,000 to 150,000 metric tons of shea butter annually. According to the government, this is largely due to a 60% loss of shea nuts in the world, resulting from traditional hand collection methods. Addressing the media at the launch of the World Shea Expo 2025, Dr. Peter Boamo Tukuno indicated that technology will be used to address this challenge and others within the shea value chain.
With the introduction of the 24-hour economic policy, we are setting a new national ambition. By investing in storage and all-season logistics, we are confident Ghana can increase the shea nut production to 400,000 metric tons annually, valued at some $640 million. This means increasing processing time, reduced post-harvest losses, faster market linkages.
In a speech expressing readiness and inviting stakeholders to the expo, Northern Regional Minister Adolf John Ali noted that women serve as the pillars of the shea industry, but often receive minimal financial rewards. He promised a paradigm shift in this regard.
Women are the pillars of the shea value chain, often bearing the hardest labor with the least reward. Our youth, meanwhile, carry innovation, energy, and a desire to build business, but face limited access to capital, training, and market opportunities.
The Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, GEPA, Francis Kojo Atta, emphasized that the expo is strategic and has the potential to expand employment opportunities for all Ghanaians.
The shear industry can become a solid catalyst for inclusive and sustainable development in Ghana. This year's expo could not have come at a better time, as it is fully and strategically aligned with His Excellency President John Dramani Mahamad's vision of accelerated export development.
Scheduled to take place from September 2nd to September 4th, 2025 in Tamale, the World Share Expo will feature exhibitions, panel discussions, investment forums, policy dialogues, and trading workshops.
You're still watching Newsroom live on GHOne TV. Stay with us. There's more sports updates.
Thanks for joining me here on Sports Brief. I am Monica Bukari. Now, as part of his nationwide tour to evaluate major sports infrastructure, Sports and Recreation Minister Honorable Kofi Adams visited the Babayara Sports Stadium in Kumasi. Despite renovations in 2022, the stadium now requires urgent upgrades to meet CAF standards. Minister Adams stressed the need to restore the stadium to support Kotoko and BBN Gold Stars in upcoming CAF interclub competitions, and also to revitalize sports in Kumasi.
Development, the tartan tracks, space for tartan tracks, and so athletics can easily be done. So it won't only be for football, but you can have athletics, you can do even other events here. Once we have pitch covers, you can do many other shows here. You can even do boxing if you want to have boxing event there. So the potential is big. And once we do what we must do, we can use this for so many things.
Meanwhile, the sports minister also revealed plans to regulate the advertisements of alcoholic beverages and sporting events. The MP for Boem constituency believes that it's time to find a way to accommodate the alcoholic beverage and companies without endangering kids.
I have engaged Foods and Drugs Authority on this, because whilst we are doing that, the very young ones, we don't want to watch these alcoholic beverages being advertised during sporting activities or show, are watching DSTV that shows all kinds of alcoholic beverages that are sponsoring that issue. It's a matter that we are seriously looking into. I don't think denying them investment in sports has helped us, because we haven't gotten the money to be able to do our facilities, or to be able to get these persons training.
Now, in a strong display of collaboration, the Asantehene Otumfuo Osei has pledged to rally support from mining companies to help rehabilitate 2 major sports facilities in the Ashanti region, Babayara Stadium and the stalled Nyinehini Youth Resource Center. The commitment was made during a high-level visit to Menchia Palace by the Minister for Sports and Recreation, Honorable Kofi Adams, following his inspection of both facilities. He was accompanied by the Ashanti Regional Minister and senior officials from the ministry. Though Babayara received upgrades in 2022, it now requires further work to meet CAF standards. The Nyinehini project, envisioned as a 5,000-seat sports hub, has remained untouched since December 2024. Otumfuo pledged to lead a mining sector fundraising drive and called for cost estimates to speed up efforts. The minister welcomed the support and announced plans for a joint task force to fast-track the project. And that's all for sports. My name is Monica Bukai. But do join us on the game at 1 p.m. here on GHOne TV. Back to you, Nadima, Umar, Uthman.
Thank you, Monica. Thank you, Monica, for those sports updates. Let's bring you entertainment news on eZone. Ghana, Park Hyun-sing, is lauding Ghana's efforts in bridging culture through theatre. This comes as Ghanaian playwright Lateef Abubakar launched the adaptation of Korean novel The Story of Sim Chong into a Ghanaian play titled Simajole. The play, set to introduce Ghana to Korean storytelling and exports Ghanaian culture to the rest of the world. Ekoboache reports.
Simanjole, Mebu Baba Simanjole.
That is Simanjole, a popular Ghanaian chant of a lover missing their estranged beloved, hence calling for their return. With the backdrop of love, Ghanaian playwright Lateef Abubakar puts the novel The Story of Sim Chong into a compassionate Ghanaian setting as Sim Majoli. At the launch of the play, Korean ambassador to Ghana, Park Hyun-sing, described the production as a meaningful cultural collaboration, writing a new chapter in Ghana-Korean cultural diplomacy.
The highlight of this year's festival is a theatrical performance based on the famous Korean classical novel. It's actually folk tale, Sim Chong-jeon. This is Sim Chong-jeon, or the story of Sim Chong. What makes this performance truly unique is that it has been reinterpreted through a Ghanaian lens and performed by Ghanaian actors, beautiful and handsome actors here. This production represents meaningful cultural collaboration between Korea and Ghana, bringing together the heritage of both nations on a single stage.
Reiterating his call for exporting theatre, Ghanaian playwright and chief executive of GHOne Production, Lateef Abubakar, described the move to produce Sim Majoli as a cross-cultural exchange between the Korean Republic and Ghana.
Today, we take another